forget what I was going to say. Damn it, I had something prepared. This is why I got to get back into taking notes.
That's a great start.
We could just use that as a start.
Oh, it's so
Let's
good.
do that. I'm John Chidley Hill. I'm a confused John Chidley Hill.
And I am Sheldon Alexander.
And this is You Killed It, the challenge podcast. Getting off to a rough Wednesday morning start. Today, obviously focusing on the latest episode of Champs vs. Stars after our interview with Wes just 2 days ago, which was really well received. We've had some super nice feedback from people, which we always appreciate. But should we get into? Are there any comments from that episode, from the Wes episode, that you want to talk about, or should we get down to the Champs vs. Stars action?
I'm trying to see here. I think it's cool to read some comments and stuff that we get from people, because I think we always do want to engage, and maybe we'll be able to do it a lot more next week, because as it still starts to filter through. As the episode with Wes, our interview with Wes starts to filter through, more people get to listen. But we got some comments so far. We got someone named Shareday YXE who says, "Fantastic episode, boys. Wes is still an all-time fave, especially if you're like me and are a keener." Which I think we fall. I think if we record ourselves talking about a reality show each and every week, I think that qualifies us as keeners. Does that work? Yeah?
Yes.
Okay.
I think that's fair comment. Yeah.
But yeah, I think that people seem to be enjoying it, sharing. It's going out there a lot. Notifications are going pretty well. Everything seems to be cool. Seems to be well received. People seem to like it. I think that it's a fun thing to do. Wes is super awesome.
Yeah.
No complaints. We got someone else on the Reddit page, which we'll start to filter out a little more soon, actually, because I literally just posted it onto Reddit as we started recording this podcast. But already we got someone, Chalmers says, "Really enjoy your guys' podcast. Your challenge takes are my favorite. Love the camaraderie with the hosts. Awesome that you have a line with Wes." I guess we are super lucky, because Wes doesn't have to do that. Wes, as you mentioned during the episode or during the interview, super busy guy, super busy schedule. So for him to make time to just sit down and talk with us two wahoos or yahoos is a term. What's a wahoo? I don't know. I'm just making stuff up.
We could
now.
be both wahoos and yahoos.
Right. You know what I'm trying to say.
I could be a yahoo and you could be a wahoo.
Makes sense, right? But you know what I'm trying to say. And I just think it's really cool. It's really fun for us, because we're just having a conversation and he gets it. We're just having a lot of fun, discussing the show, and yeah, tons of fun.
Yeah. And as I said on the episode, but also just tweeting at people, I really enjoy just having those conversations with Wes, because I think for me the big appeal of the challenge is the strategy and the politics, and that's certainly Wes's MO.
Yep.
So I just like getting the deep dive. I have to add, I think this is a nice segue to Wes's power at convincing his partner Booby to vote against the Stars.
Yes.
Well, seemingly to vote against the Stars.
Well, we alluded to this last week, I think, right? That, the move on the surface appears to go against the Stars team, right? But Booby seemed to have it figured out that, hey, it's more important to him to have Casper and Luis still in the game. So how you have a better chance of keeping them in the game if you let them go up against Selita and Jozea. And Jozea, yes, the dude who says that to prepare for said challenge or said elimination, he was going to show up. They're the team of cheekbones, and so that's why he didn't shave. But also, he was going to wear red lipstick to beat Casper. Two things that really don't make much sense at all. But
no.
if that's your competition, or that's what your decision's coming down to, if you're talking about who should you send in between the guy that's showing up to wear lipstick, as if that's an advantage, or CT and Tony, I'm going to go out on a limb and say Booby made the right decision.
I thought he'd made the right decision before you even saw what the competition was. Mm-hmm. But then when we saw the competition, I'm just going to hazard a guess. Tony and CT have played Flip Cup a few times. I'm just going to go out on a limb here.
That's a solid guess.
And furthermore, the actual like tilting of the giant fake cup, mm-hmm. like all those guys do is deadlifts and squats. Like that is their wheelhouse. It might be a challenge because they're both such big guys.
Yeah.
But like that competition was made for CT and made for Tony. So I mean, I agree with Booby that like even before knowing what the competition was, he was doing right by Casper and Louise.
Oh yeah,
by not having them go against a strong team.
Yeah, no, definitely, right? Definitely. And it was funny because you could tell that Booby played it out already in terms of how he wanted it to go down. And I thought it was very interesting that Louise and Casper definitely realized what was going on as well, right? Like they didn't take any slight to it. They realized that, oh no, in his mind he's doing us a favor, which he is, right? But sending them in and ensuring that they stay, right? Because that's more important to the overall game of the stars as a whole. Also, too, I mean, once we saw this challenge, I didn't think it was going to be close at all, right? This giant flip cup. And the thing that had me a little bit worried was that Casper right away says, well, I don't drink, so I've never really played flip cup before. Which was something that I was kind of like, oh, yeah, never really even thought of that as being a thing.
I had assumed that he'd be good at it. I was like, oh, man, like Casper's for sure like partied with some people.
Yeah.
But if you don't drink, it's a problem. Like, I don't drink beer,
mm-hmm.
so like I don't have a ton of experience at Flip Cup, but I've also played it by having other drinks in the cups. Like there's ways of making it work. So I'm just surprised he didn't do it with like water or something, you know? But anyway.
No.
Flip Cup with water, I admit, would be lame, but you know, if you're a joiner, like if you're out partying and everyone else is drinking, like you find a way to participate.
Were you surprised that they didn't actually like have to partake in the drinking part? And I'm not saying that they should have had beer in there. I'm not saying that.
Oh.
But even if they just showed them pouring in water or like made it kind of like an eating challenge where they had to like put milk in there or something, like something that you would have to drink.
Making them drink like half and half cream would be perfect, right? Because that would sit so heavy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And just like flipping and turning and like having to do like deadlifts while you've got like a gut full of cream would just be the worst.
Well, that was the other thing that proved to be a big deal, right? You mentioned the deadlift portion of it because Casper and Louise get off to a really big start. They're out to a huge lead. And the one thing, though, was Casper was struggling to deadlift the actual cup. Like, that cup ended up being a lot heavier than it looked on TV, mm-hmm. but also than Casper expected, no?
Yeah. Yeah, and he admits as much. And I think that what made the difference was toward the end, Louise was kind of gassing out and had to do the deadlift. Like, Casper was in the cup and she had to lift,
mm-hmm.
and he like grabbed the upper lip of the cup and used his body weight to like kind of pull while staying within the cup.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the key, and the cameras didn't really show it, but I wonder if Jozea and Selita figured that out earlier, because they caught up. They made it a game. They were right there.
They really caught up. Like, they came out of nowhere. They had a huge comeback after it took Jozea so long to flip his 3 cups over. Like, that was a pathetic performance by Jozea.
You know what? I sympathize with Jozea because like we've all been on the flip cup line mm-hmm. and like stressed out, and then suddenly you're shaking a bit and you can't nail those flips. It's tough out there.
Yeah, but
I think that's a normal reaction.
Hold on, but that's happening maybe inebriated, and now you're drunk, and you're trying to win a competition at the same time. Maybe you're trying to show off for that girl that's there too, so you're a little nervous. I don't know, like this is.
But if you're playing Flip Cup, you're probably been drinking, so you got that liquid courage to soothe your nerves.
Interesting. Okay. All right, maybe I'm being too hard on Jose, but you're right. They did do a great comeback, and is it fair to say, John, that the way that they came back, if Jose just wasn't that terrible at the beginning, should they have won?
Yeah, I think they would have.
Yeah,
I think they would have, which would have just flipped this game upside down.
Yeah, definitely.
Just to take a couple steps back, though, before we got to the competition. Tori pulled Little Mama aside to be like, hey, we're going to be next on the chopping block.
Mm-hmm.
So, and Little Mama's like, I don't care, I'll just go ahead and win. And she's like, yes, I hear that, but like, you should also be prepared emotionally for the fact that we might be next on the chopping block, which I thought was really smart and prescient of Tori.
Yeah.
Like, just reading the situation, reading the numbers. And I thought she made a really great point that because it was two All-Stars team versus two All-Stars teams, that it was going to flip the numbers and that they were suddenly going to have a target on their back.
Yeah.
So I thought Tori did a fantastic job of reading the situation and giving her partner a heads up. And, Little Mama, she's passionate. She's emotional. So good to just, like, nip that in the bud. Good job, Tori.
I really like how that team worked together, right? Like, that team really worked well together. Tori and Lil Mama. They had, like, a good back and forth. And even in their indecision that they had during the last deliberation, it was still pretty cordial, right? Like, they were both on opposing sides, but it was still fairly cordial. There were no hard feelings. They worked really well together. Tori was a really good sport. And, yeah, like... I
really like Tori.
Yeah. Agreed. Definitely agreed. Still becoming one of my favorite characters. She's just good people. She's a happy person. She seems to come on and have a lot of fun. She's not really mean-spirited. She tries hard.
No.
Yeah, I like Tori. Tori's cool.
Louise and Casper win, and we go on to the next competition, which is Twister. Well, it's sort of, vertical Twister?
I guess so. I wrote down, like, rock climbing Twister.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
So,
which it doesn't, but, you know.
For our listeners who somehow did not watch this episode, they had every team was stuck between two walls, and on the walls were 4 rows of rock climbing brackets that were different colors, so blue, green, yellow, and red. And is exactly as we've described. The Miz would spin a wheel that would tell them, like, left hand blue, and they'd all have to put their left hands on the blue bracket, and so on. And they're, 6 feet maybe above some gross looking water, which is sort of like a moat that was built around this contraption, this structure. And before it began, Shane, as the MVP of the last competition, got a power play, which was advantage, which really was more disadvantage in that he got to choose a way to punish a team of his choosing by removing 3 of the brackets from any of those rows. Naturally, our man Shane picked to pick on Louise and Casper as his top competition, and also because, as he put it, he's put all his cards on the table. So Louise and Casper are definitely gunning for him if they can. So he said take out the 3 red brackets, which was the bottom bracket.
Yeah.
What did you think of Shane's decision making here?
I thought it was the right decision to make, right? Like, why beat around the bush? You already know, they know that they're the targets. You know that they're your targets. It makes sense. And to take the 3 red pegs, I mean, it's interesting. And I know this is obviously me playing hindsight, but was removing 3 of the 1 bracket really the right move? Or should you have mixed up the colors maybe? I don't know.
Yeah.
That's hindsight, obviously. And obviously it also then just comes down to what the Miz happens to spin, right, on the wheel. So lots of different factors there. But at the same time, yeah, I have no issue with what Shane did. It makes total sense. And I would assume that Louise and Casper knew that it was coming as well, no?
Yeah, and the other thing, this was, I just finished saying that the Flip Cup competition was made for CT and Tony. This competition was made for Louise and Casper.
Oh, okay.
Right, because they are they set themselves, they're very agile, they're very flexible because they're both probably the best athletes. It would be so much, just removing their options is basically the only way to limit them, I think.
Yeah.
And it also, I don't think it really matters. I guess Shane was smart to pick the red ones, which was the lowest row, just because it would make it harder for them if they are trying to stay vertical, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Like the lower ones are sort of the easier ones, or the more integral ones, right? Because your body weight's not going to be hanging from the top one at any point.
Yeah.
So I thought Shane did the best he could to take advantage of that power play.
No, I definitely agree as well. Great move by Shane. But the other twist to this whole thing, again, it just comes down to what the Miz was spinning around. But the other thing that you might not realize is a massive advantage in this competition is the size of you and your teammate, right? Because in the instance of CT and Tony, 2 like massive human beings, especially CT, but Tony positioned right behind CT. I think he was complaining about CT farting in his face. Like that was a thing.
And they caught audio of CT farting,
which is all right. That's
not something I ever thought we were going to have to discuss on this show. But here we are.
Here we are indeed. But yeah, I think it's much more of an advantage. And you even heard Tori was kind of, some of the positions that she was placed in. She's worried about her big old booty and how that would work and trying to alter in between in that competition as well. So you could see that it would affect different people in different ways because, like, even Lil Mama did a great job in doing it. We think that Casper and Louise also did a very good job. But did they, John? Or was there some drama?
Well, I don't know how it happened. Because I swear they were... I could go back and watch the replay, the instant replay on my PVR. But at some point... Louise did not... They had to have their right foot on blue, which was the highest bracket. And at some point, Louise just didn't do that, or she moved her foot down, but she had her foot on the red bracket, her right foot on the red bracket.
Yeah.
And by this point, Shane and Brooke were already eliminated.
Yeah.
Brooke was the first to fall. Then it was Tori, and then it was... I guess Shane was next. I might have the order wrong. But Shane and Brooke were eliminated. And Shane noticed that Casper and Louise were not in sync, which means that
something's
one
up.
of them was cheating.
Yeah.
And he quickly put together that Louise should have had her right foot on blue, and Shane just went nuts.
Yeah,
because it sort of took the Miz a while to react.
So there's a lot going on in this situation, right? Because at first, right, Wes is involved in all this too. Because what happened is the bottom 3. The important part of this challenge was that the bottom 3 people were automatically the losers, right? "Quote unquote," the losers of this competition. So once the bottom 3 were done, Wes decided he was just going to jump off. CT decided he was just going to jump off. And now these guys, once Shane points it out, they all start yelling. But Shane just like doubled down and like went even more ham in his discovery, let's say, of something fishy going on with Team Louise and Casper. Now, there's a couple different things that I was wondering, that I was thinking of from like the producing standpoint, and it was so it's like we're looking at it from a viewer perspective as well. Did the Miz notice or whatever, right? But we know that there's also a bunch of producers that are around that that should be watching and paying attention to what's going on to make sure that everyone's kind of playing fairly. Also, they're shooting this with
cameramen.
Exactly. There's multiple cameras and stuff going on, right? So in that instance, I'm thinking, well, Louise got taken off, right? Because obviously she did something wrong. And I'm thinking if Casper did the same, wouldn't they, like, there'd be footage of it, right? And I feel like that would have been a really good storyline to show.
Yes.
If Casper had actually cheated, because he's already being the villain. They could have kept painting him in that light. People would have been way more frustrated. It would have just been funny to see him get disqualified for cheating. But in this instance, it kind of flipped the other way. And it was all about Shane just losing it. And I know we praised Louise a lot during our Wes interview. And I'm going to do it a little more here, because I think a key part of this was they remained calm. They didn't really like match Shane's level of yelling or Shane's level of anger. They're just pretty calm and cool. And Louise was like, if anyone made the mistake, it's me. I obviously made the mistake. Casper was fine. Like, I'm disqualified, whatever. And she was just calm and cool about it. Let Shane kind of continue to make an ass of himself, right? And to me, that was the biggest deal. Like, Shane just made himself look bad, because once you become that loud, you now become the story, not necessarily what's happening or what could have happened.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you completely. And not that he needed the help, but it I guess, made the target on his back even brighter. Right? Like, he was already going to be their number one target, but like he just added to it for sure.
But also the thing that Shane definitely wasn't thinking about, and I know that you don't know what twist is lying ahead, and you probably didn't think that whoever won the challenge was going to vote the two teams to go home, but there's only two teams left that can win, and one of them is a team that you're yelling at right now. No matter what, that cannot be a good look for you to be screaming at the team that might win. You know, like, that seemed odd to me. And also, I would have some understanding, or I would think that I would have some understanding that if they did cheat, once I pointed out, he's a challenge vet. He should know that they go back and look at the tapes all the time and they can figure out, okay, we see that Louise was on the wrong place, or, you know what I mean? Like, they have a way of figuring it out. Once you point out the flaw, right? Like, you didn't need to take it to that extra level. And I think that's what Shane's mistake was.
And you know what? That's exactly what I thought too. I'm like, Shane, why are you flipping out? This show has like set the precedent that they can just look at the tape. Like, they do that all the time. And so just like chill out. And
chill out, he did not. Like, he took it to another level. He even went the route of saying, you know, he was swearing at Casper, saying, at least I'm famous on my own, or in my own right, instead of fucking someone famous. Which to me, like, and I know if you listen to our interview with Wes, yes, I did ask Wes if he asked Casper about J-Lo, right? So like, I understand the whole Casper J-Lo, and obviously J-Lo is one of the most famous people in the world. But to me, that's kind of a terrible chirp, because at the end of the day, you're trying to pat yourself on the back in saying that you're famous in your own right, but are you really famous in your own right? Like, I don't think Shane is really famous, and you're not going to diss Casper's level of fame for sleeping with J-Lo. Like, do you know what I mean? I just thought it was a horrible chirp, because if you're gonna chirp me for sleeping with J-Lo and being like, you're only famous because you slept with J-Lo, I'd be like, okay.
Damn right I
Yeah,
did.
like is that supposed to be a diss? Like, is that a burn? Like, what? Right? Like, yeah, you gotta find new material, Shane.
Well, the other thing is, like, sure, when we were talking with Wes, you brought it up
Mhm.
with Wes, but you were also praising Casper.
Oh, I'm
Like, you weren't trying
totally.
to, like, turn it as a dig.
Yeah, yeah, I'm totally bigging
And
up Casper for that. Yeah.
and also, I think that Casper is a well-known enough dancer. Like, obviously, his relationship with J-Lo, like, brought him to the forefront. But also, like, I think we would have heard of him anyway. You know what I mean? Like, he has so much going on in his life that he would have been famous in his own right, too, at some point.
Yeah, no, definitely. I just think I think you're totally right in terms of that, but I just don't get like that being your diss. Like, you're only famous because you slept with J Lo. And it's like, yeah, that's not a bad thing. Like, it just made no sense. It was super petty. And again, it just made Shane look like an ass. Cause like you're comparing your level of fame, which isn't nearly the same as Casper's anyways. Also, comparing
Hmm.
your level of fame is super lame to begin with, right? Because you're both on the exact same television show, which would, you know what I mean? Like, it was just an odd thing altogether. And also, too, sorry, while we're on this topic, we did put out like a little sneak peek video that you might see floating around on social media with our conversation with Wes, where we do talk about Casper and we talk about J Lo, but in that clip, in that teaser clip, you hear Wes say that Casper's a douche on the level of Kanye West, whatever. I do want to clarify, like, I hope people do understand, like, that clip is obviously edited in sense that you're cutting something down for like a minute. You're taking like a
Yeah.
full hour long conversation or a 15-minute conversation that we had about Casper, in which Wes did say a lot of good things about Casper as well. He was just talking about their
Yeah.
relationship in terms of they both think each other are douches and whatever, right? Like they have a very combative personality that goes back and forth, but there's more than a level of respect. Like they talk to each other all the time. They're like, he said, like he FaceTimes, like I thought that was pretty cool. So I just wanted to clarify in case people just thought that Wes was just out there throwing shade at Casper. That's not the case at
No,
all.
no.
He was, but he was also countering that with some no, he's a good guy at heart. He is super cocky, but that is part of, to use an old school Jay-Z reference, part of the gift and the curse, right?
Yeah. The other thing that was detrimental about Shane flipping out as hard as he did was that everyone's still hanging there, right? Like,
Yeah.
the longer he's flipping out, the longer they have to hang there.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, people are dying and waiting for Miz to call for whatever the next move was.
Yeah.
So, it was. I understand why he was passionate, but as soon as they got going, to like check things out, he should have chilled out
Mm-hmm.
and let things play out, because otherwise they're just in agony as their muscles are starting to like seize and atrophy, and
Yeah.
it's tough.
Are you surprised with how well Booby Gibson did in this? Just because obviously he's what 6'4", 6'3", somewhere around there. Like he's a pretty big guy.
I was surprised, but also, I mean, part of like people's success at this, I mean, you made the point of size,
Mm-hmm.
but also it's sort of their body fat percentage, right?
Ah.
Like if you have a low body fat percentage, then your body's being efficient, right? Like you're not having to hold up weight that isn't helping.
Interesting. Yes.
So,
yes,
like,
yes.
a guy like CT, who I don't think has the best body weight percentage at this point, his muscles are working to hold up his fat.
Yeah.
Whereas I bet Booby Gibson doesn't have a ton of fat on his body. So, sure, he's super tall, but once he has the space to spread out, I think he's going to be doing fine. And he has the benefit that he can, like, brace his forearms
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
against and like shift his weight around, whereas someone like Kayla was struggling and like had to keep her fingertips on the bracket just to qualify,
Yeah. No.
right? Which also means that all your weight is on 3 points of contact rather than 4.
Definitely. No, that's a very, very good point, John. It was super interesting too, just to watch how that all played out because uh, Casper versus Booby ended up being like the very, very end of this challenge, and then Booby jumps off. Casper and Louise win, and we find out the big twist, which obviously I gave away already. But you watch the episode, so I'm not ruining anything. But we find out the twist that not only do Casper and Louise win the challenge after being given the the penalty the penalty of having 3 of their pegs removed. Not only do they overcome that, not only do they win the challenge, but now they get to pick 2 of the bottom 3 teams to be eliminated from the game right now. Not you have to go into elimination and battle it out, but no, you are going home, you are eliminated right now. And like I applauded this. I applauded this move right away, John, because again, I've been saying it throughout this whole entire season of Champs versus Stars. Whatever post-production meeting that they had as producers following last season of Champs versus Stars, bravo to them, because they came back this season and just did a much better job of having all these different twists and turns, having much better personalities come on the show, a much better batch of stars that understand the reality aspect of it. Something else we also talked with Wes about, and he gave a good take on, so you should go back and listen to that. But also, just these twists and turns, like what a great twist. Like I didn't see that coming at all. And I thought that you're putting Casper right on the spot. And as a viewer, I was stunned. And then when I put the producer hat on, I was like, well played. Didn't see that turn coming at all. Great move. I love the drama of that twist. What did you think?
Yeah, I thought it was a great twist. And I mean, as we've been saying, Shane and Brooke were done for. And we all knew it. They knew it. We knew it. But the real question is, the real drama, the real tension, was who would he pick over Drake and Kayla and Lil Mama and Tori?
Yes.
Right? Because Lil Mama and Drake had both been loyal and, part of the squad and, did not flinch in the face of pressure from the champs. And both Kayla and Tori had kind of gotten along with everyone. Tori in particular...
Yeah,
got along well with everyone, right?
Nope, definitely true.
So it was a tough decision, and it did seem like Casper struggled with it. He ultimately chose Drake and Kayla, which I think is the right decision.
See, I was going back and forth on this because I think that Tori might have been more likely to, if someone was going to flip sides, Tori would be more likely to flip sides than Kayla would be. But yes, with that said, sure, I do appreciate Casper just staying loyal and sticking to the fact that, no, Drake was on our team. He was on the blue team, Stars team the entire time, and he's already made decisions that have helped us get to where we're at in this game. So even though they love Lil Mama, even though Lil Mama was riding for them, their bond or their team game relationship with Drake lasts a lot longer, and I respect Casper for that. And I think deep down, Lil Mama, I think everyone else watching appreciates that, no?
I think they should. The other thing is that if we're being real, Drake and Kayla are better competitors than Lil Mama and Tori.
For sure.
Tori has not been on her game. Tori has not been on her game this season. And the comparison between Lil Mama and Drake in terms of the competitors of the Stars, I mean, there's no comparison, right? Drake is a bigger person, not by much, and not that Lil Mama is in bad shape, but Drake is in fantastic shape.
Yeah.
So
no, it definitely makes sense. I just think it made total sense. Once he put out, no, we've been our core 4. I'm sorry, I'm apologizing for all my sports analogies today, but the core 4 of the blue team stars of Booby Gibson, Drake, Casper, and Louise is still around. You're going to keep that bond tight, keep that crew going forward. I'm not mad at that because the thing that I look forward to and I see coming is Wes turning on CT and Tony's team. Like, that's gonna happen, right? Like that's
really,
yeah. I definitely think that is gonna happen at a certain point. A vote is gonna need to be made, and Wes is gonna be put into the same position that Booby was just put into. And I think that Wes is gonna flip and go the other way because long term or whatever final they end up going in, I think he would rather go against Casper and Louise than go against CT and Tony. That's just my guess. That's based off nothing.
Yeah.
I would have loved to, like, you know, maybe Wes is listening and he'll comment on this after this all plays out to let me know if we were on the right track, or we'll see how it plays out. But yeah, I just see when I think of how this is gonna play out down the stretch, I feel like eventually whoever wins next week, especially if CT and Tony don't win, I mean, I could see the other votes just going against them.
Well, so let's look at who's left. We've got Casper and Louise.
Mm-hmm.
We've got CT and Tony.
Yep.
We've got Wes and Booby, Drake and Kayla.
Yes.
So I guess it's evenly split between champs and stars now, whereas the stars previously had the advantage, right? Like, as Tori pointed out, with the elimination of Selita and Jozea, that evens the numbers. And we've got one team that is all stars and one team that is all champs, and then the other 3 teams are split. So I guess it comes down to, as long as the champs ensure that Casper and Louise don't win,
yeah,
then they're in good shape. And also vice versa, right? Like, as long as Louise and Casper ensure that CT and Tony don't win,
yeah,
then they're in good shape. Or more accurately, they have to lose, right? Like, whoever goes in automatically, that's the key.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see how this plays out. But again, overall, I assume there's got to be 2 episodes left. That's my guess.
Yeah,
if there's 4 teams,
2 episodes left.
Overall, I'm in on this season, and I'll be honest. After the last season of Champs Versus, I was kind of like, okay, you know, and like the way that the last season ended, there was very much kind of like okay, yeah, I guess I'll watch. We got to talk about it on the pod, you know, and you're kind of like going through the motions, so to speak, because you knew how it was going to play out. And I remember you were kind of entertained, at least, by the domination of it all, and I was kind of like,
yes, I was.
You were entertained by the domination, and I was kind of like, no, I want to have, like, you know, some form of surprise, some competition. What's gonna happen? Like, I need that. I've gotten that this season, and I think it's been a really, really good season, an entertaining season. And as you just mentioned the teams that are left. I have no idea who's gonna win. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if, like, any of the teams won. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's pretty cool, and that's the kind of show you want to create competition-wise, but also just in terms of the strategy, right? Like, you talked about it with Wes in our interview, right? About just the, for lack of a better term, the nerdy kind of breakdown of, you know, the strategy and how that plays out. Like, I like that. I find that so entertaining, so interesting, so much to look forward to in terms of, but what if this team voted this way? What would happen? But what about this? But what about that? And I enjoy that a lot. I know that sounds nerdy, but hey, we also make a podcast about a TV show called The Challenge on MTV, so deal with it.
So, tell me, Sheldon, who killed it for you this week?
Who killed it this week? Well, it's obviously got to be, I'm going to roll with Casper. I'm rolling with Casper, and it's pretty straightforward. To be thrown in, to handle being thrown in well, right? To not flip out on Booby Gibson and realize that, no, he's actually trying to help you. Then you have a pretty solid performance. You end up winning the elimination round, right? Do a good job there. And then you win the next challenge after being penalized by having 4 of your pegs removed. like just an easy performance, an easy pick for me after that performance. Booby Gibson, not Booby Gibson. Casper Smart, you are the MVP. As Louise picked you as the MVP as well, and who am I to disagree with Louise Hazel?
You are not in a position to disagree with Louise Hazel.
Right?
For me, I'm going with Booby.
Okay.
I'm going with Booby as my MVP. He, I think, performed super well in the competition, right? Like, finished second. Mm-hmm. But I also think that he made the right decision in, ultimately, I mean, one thing we didn't really explicitly say is that Booby's vote for Selita and Jozea only set up Kayla as the winner of the previous elimination to put them in. Like, ultimately, Kayla put them in. Booby just, like, gave her the ammunition to do it. But still, I think he did the right thing for the stars and for his partnership with Wes in the long run.
No, definitely.
So, and he performed super well in the actual competition. So, just all in all, a great episode for Booby. Before we throw to our social media handles and all that stuff, though, let's talk about Final Reckoning. Because now we've got some information. I mean, I don't think you look at Vevmo like I do, so I already had some of this info.
Okay.
But last night they announced that season 32 of the challenge is coming. It's Final Reckoning. It's coming July 10th. It's essentially a combination of Rivals and Battle of the Exes. So you are partnered with either your ex or you are partnered with your rival. So it's like all male partnerships, it's all female partnerships, but it's also former couples. Like, it's a real mixed bag.
Okay.
Can we do a quick rundown of who's coming on the show?
Yeah, let me know.
Are you unaware?
I'm unaware. I've seen some pictures. So I know like maybe one or two teams, but I definitely don't know the full roster.
All right. Well, let's talk about some of the big ones. Okay. Right off the hop, you have Zach is going to be partnered with Jenna.
Okay.
Now, I don't know if you're up on the gossip.
I am not.
But they're back together.
Oh. So how is this?
Like in real life.
Oh, so we don't know. Maybe this plays out during the season. Okay.
Exactly.
I don't know how much I'm here for Zach and Jenna drama or even romance. Like, I'm kind of over that. But, okay.
Well, still, Zach and Jenna are back together. I think what happened was they were lumped together on this show, and then photos started emerging in the past 2 or 3 weeks of them together, like, in real life. Mm-hmm. And I think they probably, like, this was the impetus for them sorting out their issues.
Okay.
Another interesting thing is I mentioned last week that Tori was going to be on this.
Okay.
She is going to be partnered with her ex, Derek.
Yes. That makes sense. Okay. That makes sense.
Friend of the show, Marie, is going to be partnered, I believe, with Cara Maria. I think I have that straight.
I think I saw that picture.
The partnerships wrong.
I think I saw that picture.
Your boy Jose is going to be on.
Who's he partnered
with?
And
I assume. I don't know. So he was on Big Brother 18. Polly Calafiore?
I guess so, because I also saw
from
Natalie
Big Brother.
is
He's
on it.
Yeah, Natalie's on it. There's also Devon Rogers. Would they have?
Devon, yeah, she's on the show. Wow, okay.
Yeah,
I'm pulling it up right now. I see the cast photos.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, Devon, she will be a very interesting, an interesting ad. She brings some spice. She'll bring some high intense, Yeah, Davon, that's a good choice right there.
So one thing I have to point out is that Johnny Bananas is standing alone, but he's not partnered with anyone, and he's tweeted along the lines of, it's Johnny Bananas versus everyone. Like, everyone's my rival.
Okay.
This is a spoiler, so if you are listening and you don't want spoilers,
I don't know if I
just
want
take
this
a pause. Are you sure? Because I know who his partner is.
I don't know. I don't want to know. I don't want to know.
You don't want to know?
No,
okay,
I don't want to
keep my mouth shut.
I don't want to know.
I know who his partner is.
If you do want to know, DM John.
Yeah, slide into my DMs if you do want to know.
No, but I was going to say about Davon. She was Mama Day in the Big Brother house. Mama Day. She was great if you were on her side, but once you cross Mama Day, it's not something you want to do. It's just not something you want to do.
That's good to know. There's also some other gossip I gotta tell you about.
I kind of know about this whole biz. Like, something's going on with Pauly and Cara Maria. It seems like
he had been dating Danielle from The Bachelor / Bachelor in Paradise.
Yes, so I know there's something going on there. I don't know any details about it, but I look forward to it. I look forward to seeing that all play out. I'm looking at this list of names. Obviously, I'm happy to see Natalie back. I'm happy to see DJ Mel back in action. Killer Cam making a return. Yeah, I mean, it looks like a pretty solid cast. I also see people that, like, some weird names, like Faith, who was on Vanderpump Rules, and I think she was also on, like, X of the Beach, I think. That's a random thing, but shout out to Vanderpump Rules.
I'm interested that Brad and Brittany are on the show, but they're not partnered with each other. So, like, you're bringing a couple onto the show, but they're not, though their partners are going to be, like, dragged into this, right? Like, to whatever trouble those two get up to.
Yeah, I mean, this cast looks super interesting. I want to see how this all plays out. Someone's name that I don't see is Tony. Tony is not on this season?
My understanding that, well, you said you didn't want spoilers.
Never mind. Yeah, okay. So we're going to get some, yeah. There's going to be some reveals. There's probably going to be some mid-season ads. There's going to be, yeah.
Can I tell you what the spoiler is? Because now it's kind of
fine.
Spoiled. The spoiler is spoiled.
So
Devin was Johnny Bananas' vendetta, his final reckoning, but Devin's father died during filming. Not that his father died at the filming, but while he was away. So Devin left, and so then they had to bring in a new rival for Johnny Bananas, which would be Tony.
Okay, makes sense.
Both legitimate rivals.
Yes. Yeah. No. Makes sense. Totally makes sense. All good. Mm-hmm. All right.
Sorry, listeners. Sorry, Sheldon.
Yeah. I'm let down.
You stumbled into it.
I'm let down now. I know.
Well, let's cheer you up. How can people find you on social media?
You can find me on social media. You can find me on Twitter at Shell Alexander and on Instagram at Sheldon Alexander. And don't forget, friends, to like and subscribe to the You Killed It podcast on iTunes, on SoundCloud, and on YouTube. There's video of our interview with Why? How am I drawing a blank on Wes? That was so weird.
Wes?
What just happened here? I feel like you threw me off with the spoiler, and now I'm just rattled, and I'm backpedaling, and I don't know what to do with myself, and I'm just happy we're at the end because I'm really losing it right now. But yes, if you want to watch video of us interviewing Wes, check out the YouTube page.
If you want to see our handsome faces, check out the YouTube page. If you're not interested in our handsome faces, stick to the audio.
Yes.
And just stick with SoundCloud or iTunes.
Been told I have a face for radio, so yes.
Harsh. That's rough. You can get me on Twitter at jchidleyhill, and it's the same handle for Instagram at jchidleyhill. And until next week, this was You Killed It.
You killed it.